A day of quarterback news that doesn't involve CJ Stroud's shoulder. However, the Texans are impacted, or are they? Let's go inside the locker room.
YouTube, you know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah,
it is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. We had an active day today. A lot of news involving the quarterback, and it did not involve CJ Stroud's shoulder. How much are the Texans impacted by this news? We'll get into that. How surprised should we be as well? We'll get into that. Texans back on the field next week. I'll be on the scene, and we'll see if he will be or won't be throwing CJ Stroud at Texans minicamp, which, by the way, the Indianapolis Colts dealing with something kind of similar. Anthony Richardson will not be throwing at their minicamp. Shane Steichen came out and said he's dealing with a shoulder issue. However, it wasn't referred to as a common shoulder issue. It wasn't referred to as general shoulder soreness, but he did come out and say Anthony Richardson will not be throwing next week. Here's the interesting thing about this. I don't think this really impacts anything other than the elimination of a really, really fake storyline that I never really bought into. Because I don't think there was a quarterback, and I still don't think there is a quarterback competition in Indianapolis. They didn't bring in Daniel Jones for $13 million the year after they benched Anthony Richardson, a.k.a. LaFar Jackson, for a quarterback competition. We saw the tap out last year with Anthony Richardson. Hell, many of you were at the game. Pat McAfee was very critical of it. I don't think he's going to do that without having somewhat of a grasp of what the Colts think or what the organization thinks about Anthony Richardson. So I never thought that the Colts were going to have a quarterback competition involving Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. This is Daniel Jones's job, and Shane Steichen hopes that he can kind of duplicate what he did with Gardner Minshew 2 years ago, where the Colts very well could have, had it not been for a drop pass, division champs in that game against the Texans on Saturday night that got flexed in Week 18. But there was never going to be a quarterback competition between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones was brought in there to be the starter. So that's the only impact on this. They were never going to start Anthony Richardson, and now we keep an eye on this. Now, from the CJ Stroud perspective, this has been a shoulder injury for Anthony Richardson that required surgery 2 years ago, and it's kind of lingered around ever since. Different playing styles, obviously, different throwing motions, but CJ Stroud has had the lingering shoulder issues for 4 years now. Sometimes this stuff just kind of lingers around, and we see it with Anthony Richardson, but it doesn't impact anything because Daniel Jones was going to be the starter before this news came out, and Daniel Jones is going to be the starter in Indianapolis after this news comes out. And I'm sure there's not a lot of Texans fans that are shaking in their boots as a result of that. Other quarterback news, kinda. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. We've been saying this here the entire offseason. The guy was working out with DK Metcalf. Everything the Steelers did this offseason was symbolic of a team that knew that they were getting something at quarterback. They did not just sit there and let Justin Fields and Russell Wilson walk and decide that maybe they were going to hand over the reins to Mason Rudolph. There's zero chance that they would do that. This was going to happen from the beginning. Why in the hell would Aaron Rodgers be throwing with DK Metcalf? Why would the Steelers have functioned the way that they were if this wasn't what was going to happen? Now, I think that this is actually pretty smart by the Pittsburgh Steelers because what this does is it minimizes the distraction to where the second that you see Aaron Rodgers, it's just about football because it's going to be at stuff that's not voluntary. So you get that. You don't go into the draft with the Aaron Rodgers distraction. And you let him have kind of a veteran schedule where he's not there for voluntary workouts. Now, I know there were some national media types criticizing him for not being there. He's been working out with DK Metcalf. This is a one-year stopgap thing. There's a lot of people in Pittsburgh, Terry Bradshaw, some other guys that aren't thrilled about Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback, but they were kind of playing into what shouldn't have even been a thought, that he was just holding Pittsburgh hostage. They knew he was going to be the quarterback. You can't convince me otherwise. They minimized the distractions, and everything they did resembled a team that knew that they were going to get Aaron Rodgers and he's going to be there. Now, how good does this make Pittsburgh? I think Pittsburgh's about what they've been for, it feels like, ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired. Pittsburgh is a team that could maybe flirt anywhere from 7 to 10 wins, but there's no high upside to where they're a legitimate threat, legitimate contender, or it could be really, really bad. But with Mike Tomlin, it seems like your ceiling and your worst case scenario, no matter what happens, they always seem to find a way in the playoffs. It's not overly low. So Pittsburgh, contender? No. Pretty much the same team that they've been the last few years. But this was one of the most obvious things in the world. You're not just throwing with DK Metcalf and they're not functioning the way they are if they don't know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a part of that team. On the super chat, Austin Jack, aka HDAV Traveler.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Good afternoon to you, my friend. You know this Aaron Rodgers stuff was bad. Pittsburgh will suck, says Michael. It's very possible. Pittsburgh will be about what Pittsburgh has been. Andrew asks about the Davis Mills thing. Do you think with CJ out there getting reps for Davis Mills to see what his trade value is? Why would they do that? How would that make any sense? What? If CJ's out, why would you trade your backup? If CJ's dealing with a hurt shoulder, why would you do that? That makes no sense. No offense, but that makes no sense. They like Davis Mills as a backup, but if his value actually has increased the last week and a half, his value to them, his value is the same around the league, maybe less, because most teams have filled rosters. They found their quarterbacks. They've drafted young quarterbacks, and there's a lot of teams that are too deep at quarterback, some 3, maybe even more. I think Cleveland has like 12 quarterbacks last I counted. But what would be the point of trading Davis Mills when your starting quarterback has a hurt shoulder? That makes no sense. Furthermore, I don't think in a voluntary OTA that Davis Mills is just going to display what his trade value is. So no, I think that's probably not true, my friend. Wouldn't make a ton of sense. So we were talking about this earlier this week, myself, Cody Stutes on SNL, which you can see here on YouTube and here on all podcast platforms. The two best in the game, Digital Kings, myself and Cody. We were talking about the discussion and the banter about CJ Stroud and whether he did or didn't have surgery. And Cody said, and I disagreed, but Cody said that it would be impossible this day and age for someone that's that big of a name to hide shoulder surgery. My, oh my, how things can change. My, oh my, how things can change. Because today we found out that one of the most prominent players in the NFL, a guy who speaks in this format every single week, one of the most available, vocal guys out there. He has a really good podcast with his brother. Amon-Ra St. Brown had under-the-radar knee surgery. Now, he said it was just to clean some stuff up, which athletes have the luxury to do. That's why a lot of times they use the term minor surgery, which I always kind of laugh at because anytime you cut me open, there's nothing minor about it. But these athletes, a lot of times, the surgeries that they have can be as a result of maintenance. But he had an under the radar knee surgery. So it's not too far fetched to think that if CJ Stroud had surgery, he could keep that under wraps and get some stuff cleaned up. He didn't miss a game for it. St. Brown was banged up. He announced it himself. No one knew it. No one in Detroit was reporting it. And they got a pretty good beat up there in Detroit. So the notion that CJ Stroud, if he had surgery, it would have gotten out. Kind of nuts to the chin to Cody. Be honest with you. Don't tell him I said that. Check out SNL tomorrow at 4. But it can happen, and it did happen. So not to toot my own horn, but I think I was right there when it came to the disagreement with Cody Stutes. So that's the quarterback news that we had today. It's kind of the slow time. I got to confess something here when it comes to this month. Watch this. These are my confessions. I hate June. June sucks. I know that it's summer, but in the industry that I've been in for 2 decades as a radio host and a digital host, it's the slowest time, especially when it comes to football. Once the NBA finals are done, and my God, what a game that was today. It felt like Oklahoma City was in control even when it was close, and I'll be damned, the Pacers did it again. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. It's another confession. But June always wears me out. The people that I'm around and know, they always notice that I'm a little bit cranky in June. I try to overcompensate when stuff isn't there and try to make up for it. There's no like coasting. So June kind of sucks for me. I'm trying to change that this year and be a little bit looser when it comes to June. But in the industry that I'm in, the industry that I've worked in, June just flat out sucks. Just flat out sucks. Don't like it. Jay Coop says he's trying to stay up for that Carter 6 drop. I'm very worried about this. I'll be honest with you. I think Wayne is the GOAT. I think he's number 1 all time. Multiple eras. I think he's the best. Maybe I'm biased because I'm kind of a South guy, but I think he's the GOAT. I don't know about this. I don't know how this is going to go. Might not be the best display from my man there. Another confession tonight. Watch this. These are my confessions. I've been eating my daughter's snacks. Even today, I noticed that there were some fruit snacks. And the last time that I ate fruit snacks before I had my daughter, the last time I ate fruit snacks was probably, I don't even know. Decade, 15 years. But I'm noticing that these snacks, and quite frankly, when I go to the grocery store, I found myself getting snacks and getting stuff that I want her to try. I actually want to try myself too. I mean, who doesn't love indulging in some SpaghettiOs every once in a while? Maybe some fruit snacks. Maybe some fruit by the foot. She's gotten to where she can get down with the fruit by the foot. The ice cream. She loves ice cream. That's like a treat. But today I was going in the pantry. Look down. There's only one fruit snack left. And it's at the level where she can walk in there and she can grab it. She's tall, like her dad, so she can open doors. There was the last fruit snack there. Took it for myself. Does that make me a slime ball? Yes or no? Does that make me a slime ball? Voided Being says, don't nobody listen to Lil Wayne anymore. When's the last time he put something out? Yeah, I don't think that's too harsh, but I'm sure he's got a little bit of a fan base a little bit. Bullboy says he eats his son's Rice Krispie treats. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, you're going in the aisle. You're like, she like this? Is she going to like this? You see the fruit snacks. You're just like, boom. I guess it's not that big of a deal. Nobody listened to Wayne anymore. He fell off. Pretty much retired. Hey, pretty much almost died 3 times, didn't he? He had a couple scares with death. But yeah, at some point, man, like I don't know what he's going to be talking about, but people seem somewhat excited by it. At least it's going to be not forced like that Kendrick Lamar stuff. That Kendrick Lamar stuff was fake, by the way. That stuff was extremely fake.
This is fake. This fake.
It's a fake?
Yeah, that's Photoshop. That's fake. On my mama, that's fake. On my heart, on my life, my little brother grave, I could die right now. That's fake.
The reason I knew that, the moment that I knew that there was something fishy about the Kendrick Lamar push was when my wife's playlist had Not Like Us on it. That was the first time I heard Not Like Us, because I don't like listening to Kendrick Lamar. I like a cameo every once in a while, but I'm not buying a whole Kendrick Lamar album. I'm sorry. I know that a lot of the brothers were telling me it's not for me. Okay. I know a lot of brothers who it's not for either. But my wife has like Miley Cyrus, country music, pop, 90s stuff. The only rap song that I've ever heard outside of like a little like pop cameo rap song was Not Like Us. And I was driving in the car and I was like, hey, what playlist is this? And I look and it's like pop. That's when I knew something was going on with that Kendrick Lamar stuff. So this Lil Wayne stuff might flop, but it's not going to get pushed. It's not going to get force fed like that Kendrick Lamar stuff. That was lame. That was lame. Something was going on there. Wayne Kendrick, that's not even, I mean, come on, that's not even close. Vigilante Williamson says Kendrick's old stuff was good. New stuff I'm good on. Vigilante, can I ask a question? Are you a Caucasian or are you an African American or a Hispanic or an Asian, whatever? I'm just doing a little case study because there's a certain portion that acted like white dudes don't like Kendrick. I feel like more white people like Kendrick than brothers sometimes. I just don't think that just don't think it's good. I think it's a little bit forced. So Vigilante, there you go. Thank you very much. Let me hit it right here.
Race car.
So there you go. So not all brothers like the new Kendrick Lamar stuff. So there we go. I've been proven right again. The under the radar surgery can be had, which I think would actually be a good thing. If you weren't listening to the show 2 days ago, the under the radar surgery for CJ Stroud is a better. For me, I think it would make me feel better than it's just lingering after being hurt last year. Because that's when you start to wonder, okay, how long is it going to linger? Is it going to be? Because if it's just cautious, like Amon-Ra St. Brown not participating, then that's good. He got something cleaned up. Now, if it's a major shoulder surgery, and I'm doing what they do that I kind of roll my eyes at, but if he just got something cleaned up in his shoulder, cool. Yeah, I would rest him too. General soreness is fine. General soreness. Maybe it's general soreness for a surgery. Maybe when we talked about what does general soreness mean, when D'Amico said it, maybe it's general soreness after a surgery, which is when you typically will have some soreness from time to time when you're trying to work your way back. So maybe D'Amico actually told us. He damn sure didn't do what Shane Steichen did. But if you had the imaginary gun to your head that I always speak to, do you think CJ Stroud throws next week? Because for me, I would rather him not. I would rather him not. Now, D'Amico wouldn't commit to him throwing. He did commit to Christian Harris being ready at training camp. He didn't pull the Steichen and come out and say he's not going to be throwing at minicamp. But I would just shut him down. If he had surgery and there's soreness, shut him down. If there's general soreness, shut him down. Nothing's going to be won next week. He's not missing anything. As a matter of fact, there's value in just being attached to the hip with Nick Caley during practice, which is what he's doing. So surgery would almost be better if we're just talking about getting stuff cleaned up, which was the wording that St. Brown used. And quite frankly, it's the luxury that these athletes have. We don't have that. You have something wrong. You usually let that hang around for like 20 years. These athletes, they go right in and just get it worked on. Get it figured out. They're probably getting colonoscopies every Monday. Cancer screenings every Tuesday. Your insurance is going to grill you like you just committed some sort of felony, some sort of crime. They're going to cross-examine you. You want to go get something like that. I don't even know who King Von is. Bull Boy says I listen to King Von. Don't know anything about King Von. So no idea what the hell that is. SPM's in jail. There's nothing to listen to there. He used to go hard back in the day. He's a weirdo creep, but no, I don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about King Von, to be honest with you. I listen to, like, if we're going like rap, like back in the day, Webby, All Walk Millionaire, Swishahouse, Boosie, T.I. before he got out of jail and completely got weird. I think Urban Legends, one of my top 5 favorite albums of all time. Urban Legends, Savage Life, Get Your Mind Correct. Not really as into Zero as a lot of people are. Paul Wall, yes. Chameleonaire, yes, but no. Not really into what you're talking about. DeRhino and Charlie Boy, what he says. I've whipped out the CD book and people get kind of surprised by that. I don't know where it was, somewhere in the attic or something like that. But yeah, I used to have to hit up Eargasm and all that type of stuff. Dude, Riff Raff used to go hard every once in a while. Ain't no doubt about that. Young Boy's too young for me. Too young for me. I'm like in the T.I., Webby, Jeezy, all that type of stuff. So it's kind of where I'm at. So it says they met Riff Raff in the Baybrook back in the day. Yeah, remember when you used to have to go to like, because I remember like if you listen to Mixtape Messiah where Chameleonaire started, he's basically shouting out all the places that sold his music. Where he's like, A&I out in Cleveland, M&M out in Tyler, Lucky Music in Abilene waiting for my arrival, da-da-da-da-da-da. He's like, ask James at Eargasm, he'll tell you I'm no liar. Like, you used to actually have to go to get like the new Chameleonaire, the Paul Wall. You used to have to go to places to get them. It kind of goes back to the gaming. I'm getting kind of millennial-ish, but you used to have to go back to the you used to have to go figure that stuff out. What is the CD? That's a good question. They don't even make those things anymore. So yeah, we mentioned the CJ Stroud situation. I'm not rapping. I'm just saying. I'm just the complaint. Attention, little kids, know you're fans of his. If it ain't no Cam, then it ain't Gun Jam Weed. But he did like 3 discs on Mike Jones. It was nice. They don't play football time in Houston anymore. People in the chat are saying that they need to get rid of it. They don't play it anymore. Where the hell you been? We wind that out of town. They got rid of that. They had a Slim Thug one last year. That's been gone for a while. You must have gone in like a 2-year coma, my friend. Doesn't exist. But we mentioned the CJ Stroud surgery, and the guy who actually asked the question about the surgery was Will Kunkel, Fox 26. This is a damn shame to me. And this is kind of sad. The Houston media market is not anywhere where it should be. I got a lot of theories on why, especially from a radio point of view, because that's kind of my background. And I've worked in other markets. I've worked in the top mid market, and I've also worked in another top 5 market, a legitimate top 5 market. And for some reason, the Houston media market, despite the size of the city and despite the passion of the fans, it just doesn't hit. And it doesn't function that way. And found out today that Will Kunkel of Fox 26, he's out. And that's one of my boys. He's out. He was completely surprised by this. But it was his last day at Fox 26. And not only was it his last day, they actually cut the entire sports department, which is insane because when stuff like this happens in H-Town, you immediately hear people say, well, man, this sucks. I can't believe they're doing this in a top 5 market. What's going on? It's just it doesn't function like a top 5 market. It's not even surprising when stuff like this happens, although just completely getting rid of sports is kind of wild, especially considering that Fox 26 this year, they were for a while up to the Big 12 tournament, were the only outlet that was following them around. And I just think it's a damn shame that in Houston, I'm not going to say top 5 media market because it's not that. But the fact that a Fox affiliate is cutting the entire sports department, and I know nobody watches the local news, but good Lord, like there are not very many cities where they would do that. And you can blame the times and you can blame the changes. It's embarrassing that it's gotten to this point. I think there's a very strong desire in Houston to just tread water. I think that there's a lot of comfort when it comes to fossils. I think a lot of the higher ups are basically just kind of socializing and self-sustaining. Is self-sustaining what I'm trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying to say. They're just trying to survive. Maybe self-sustaining is appropriate, but it's a shame because what's happening is there's extra cheap labor that is not representative of the options that you would have here. And there's just a desire to tread water. And eventually, if you're not progressing, then you get burned. And for a Fox affiliate, I don't care if it's a top 5, top 10, top 20, I would like to see a list of places where entire sports departments are cut. That's asinine. And it's a damn shame because I thought he was doing his thing. So I don't really know what's next. I know there's a lot of the legacy brands are just cutting budget. They got either the really old guy who honestly, and the other thing that I think is a shame is the radio. As a radio market, it's not where it should be. That's common knowledge. Like you read that in anything else. As a TV market, it's not where it should be. But you have these guys that have been around for a long time, and it's like this is part of the reason why that's happened. Like the Houston Chronicle doesn't even have a columnist. That's one of the few papers that doesn't have a columnist. And now the Fox affiliate doesn't have a sports department. That's sad. That's embarrassing, and that's kind of an indictment on how things are and how things have been. I know a lot of the I don't want to say too much about where I used to work, but I mean, y'all, nobody's listening to that. And they're putting guys on the air that don't even want to talk. I mean, and producers aren't even claiming that they're producers. They're saying personalities or whatever. Like it's just a shame. And it's not some asshole who's only worked here saying it. It's someone who had the highest rated show for the better part of a half decade. It's been in multiple places. It's a damn shame. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. And that's incorrect. No one reads the newspaper anymore. Sorry to say, but old media is dead. It doesn't matter. Like you can do a better job online and it works that way. There's not any other city that doesn't have a columnist. I think Cleveland has multiple people covering games. It's Cleveland. Jacksonville has multiple guys coming to games. Indianapolis has a whole crew. Tennessee has a whole crew. Tennessee, you can see Tennessee's guys. You got 6 guys right there that are on the beats, one of the best beats. The Colts beat, it's right there. Multiple newspaper guys. But that's not an excuse for Houston. find a way to evolve, but they're not trying to evolve. They're trying to tread water. And that's what happens. So this whole like top 5 media market, it's a damn shame. It's a 100% damn shame. And they do put their stuff online. They just don't do a good job of displaying it. They just don't do a good job of evolving. There's a lot of fake it till you make it stuff going on. It's insane. I just don't know where it went wrong. I think part of the problem was losing the football team for a period, but Cleveland didn't seem to miss a beat there. Where is Houston ranked in media markets? I don't know. It's top 5 size wise, but it's not even close. Like when you look at the other stuff, it's a shame. Like there should be no situation where Fox cuts their sports department, especially when it's a guy who is doing as much work as he can digitally, who's on the scene at the Texans all the time. He's asking the right questions. And I think it's not a knock on anyone else, but it seemed like his shelf life and staying power was high. He was one of the top news guys in Charlotte. He comes here because he thinks it's a top 5 market, and they cut the whole sports department. Cash Out says Landry should not be a GM. No shit. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think I should be a GM. There's no way. Absolutely not. Sure. The New York Times doesn't have a sports department. They just use The Athletic. Okay. So it's still the same company. We don't even have a reporter from The Athletic here in Houston. How about that? Dallas has 3, I think. 3 guys on the beat with The Athletic. Cleveland has 1 or 2. I know Zach Jackson's one of them. We had Aaron Reese. They got rid of that. So there's not even an Athletic reporter here. The Athletic doesn't even report on Houston Texans. Tough. It's a media rant. Media trading cards here on SNL. I just think we're going to miss Will Kunkel and the professionals. He'll be fine. He'll be able to figure something out, but it's a damn shame. It's good for me, I guess. I mean, it's good to know that non-traditional work for yourself media is a thing, and you can do what you do. I mean, me and Cody are able to do what we do because of, limited assets, but you're not, it's just a damn shame. Damn shame. So shout out to Will Kunkel. We'll see what happens with him. And we'll just keep an eye on that. It's obviously June 5th. That doesn't make like a normal, that type of rant. Sideline Sarah with the conspiracy theory. Will asked if CJ had surgery, then got the boot. Yes, he did. What if D'Amico called Fox 26 and said, "You better get rid of your sports department"? How dare Will Kunkel ask me that? Nah, that's not what happened. Yeah, that is his last question. His last question is, did CJ have surgery? And then they poured one out for him. Big Willie style. D'Amico picks up the phone. Calls in. But yeah, to reset, Anthony Richardson, the only impact that has is none, because he was never going to start for the Colts. Daniel Jones was from the beginning, so that fake-ass quarterback competition we can just get rid of. Aaron Rodgers, he was going to be a Steeler from day one. We know that. They're still the same team. At best case scenario, they're the exact same team that they've been, it feels like, for the last 7 to 10 years. But yeah, that's pretty much how that news impacts us. And oh, by the way, Amon-Ra St. Brown taught you a lesson, Cody Stutes. You can have an under-the-radar surgery. It does happen. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. Leave your confessions in there if you so choose. We're almost getting through June, which is just kind of the most depressing month of the year for me, but I'm going to make it better. Actually going to take a vacation. The fam, we're going to Arizona. We're 30 deep. Wife's side of the family, 30 deep. Flagstaff. Going to be fun. final month, going to unwind, going to avoid the burnout, going to woo-saw, going to look at the mountains, maybe pop a gummy, maybe go live after popping a gummy in the mountains with the mountains in the background. Maybe not because I'm trying to relax, but who knows? You never know. We'll be in it together no matter what. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we top 2 and we not too plugged in.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the